Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Have an epic one for you today. We're going to learn how to play the Rush instrumental off of the Hemispheres album, Villa Strangiato. I'm sure I just screwed that all up. So I'm going to do that a lot this lesson, by the way. There's a lot of linguistics to get around, and there's a lot of these individual sections are named things that I can't pronounce. But I'm not going to worry about that, because if we're here to learn how to play it, not say it. So please follow the channel if you haven't already. Ring that little notification bell so you'll know when I release a new lesson. And check out my Guitar Academy, please. It's at GuitarLessons365.com. Has all my guitar courses, improvisation, ear training, theory, all sorts of styles. Go check it out. It's a really fun place. It's got thousands of people already members, and it's a nice community over there. So now we're going to go through every section of this song. It's all in standard tuning. All 12 sections. So if you're familiar with this track, it starts with this little flamenco-y type thing. So I'm going to, through the magic of video editing, grab my nylon string, and I'll play that for you right now. Alright, so crazy lick that ends it, I know. And even though it's flamenco style, it is played with a pick. It's not finger picked. So don't let anybody fool you that Alex Lifeson, doesn't actually play this live. They did kind of a version of it on electric guitar for their original video. You might want to check that out, but it's not. It's got some similar things like the very beginning, but you know, all the other parts not very similar. So anyway, so let's do it like the album. So we're going to start here, nylon string or electric, don't really worry about it. We have 7/10 on the B string. Remember, we're in standard tuning. Then 4/7. And then we're going to grab this chord that says, so it's just a bar across the second fret on the A and the D string, fourth fret on the G, fifth fret on the B. So all together. We're basically going to do that again, except we're going to not play that 7 at the very beginning. We're just going to start on the 10 now. Then 4/7. And then get to that chord a little quicker. So you kind of just strum across those 4 strings. The third time through, he builds up and he plays dyads on each one. So we have that with that 10th fret, we have the 9th fret added now on the G. And then the 4th fret we had on the B, we're going to have the 4th fret on the G with it. So we have this. And then when that 7th fret that was on the B is going to have the 8th fret on the G with it. So we have this. And then the ending chord is going to be a different version of the E power chord. Now he gets to that big flamenco-y chord, sets it up. It's played like an E minor, except you're going to mute the G string with the bottom of your ring finger there. And then you have that kind of those big open strings in there all the way across. Alright, now we have the fast lick, which is one of these things that he will never play the exact same way twice. It's more about going for this effect. So the better way of doing it is to try to just see the shapes that he's playing across and then just going for it like he does. And kind of Alex Lifeson, whenever he has a really fast picking part, it'd be on flamenco, like a nylon string guitar or electric, you're not gonna. You usually hear some notes are like played twice, and some notes are not. So it's kind of like it's not the most uniform. Like they're not. It's not played like that. It's not part of his style. He doesn't synchronize everything like that. So his fast licks are usually kind of more just kind of like doesn't really matter. So let's look first about how we start this. So this the notes that are going on the first string, this little beginning of it, we can kind of get it, kind of like he does. So what's going on? We have the open high E over to the 3rd fret on the B, back to the high E, and then you're gonna pull off 1 to 0. And then after you pull off that 1 to 0, go back to that 3 on the B string and then back to the high E. So we have this so far. And then we're gonna have, you're gonna play the 1st fret, you can hammer 3, pull back off to 1, pull back off to the 0. So if you want, you can pick up to that 3, then pull off. Now, as he gets down across the strings, he really starts heavily palm muting these. Now, he does this mainly when you hear stuff played like this, is because he wants to control the strings. These nylon strings, they vibrate very wide. So if you don't have it palm muted, the strings are just flapping about and they're really hard to get the pick on. And it's not helped by, because the string tension is so low on a nylon string guitar, it's actually more difficult to pick than, say, a steel string guitar. So it's because it's more difficult to control the string. So when he gets down to the 2nd string, he really starts laying into the palm muting and doing patterns like this. Until that last chord he just lets ring. So when you get down to the B string, so we have this like that at the beginning. Then take it down to the same 3 frets, 3, 1, 0 on the B string, and what I want you to do is just basically play all the way down, back up, and back down. So 3, 1, 0, back up to 3, and back down. So with that little palming. All right, and then we're gonna go down to the G string and kind of continue the heavy palm muting. Now, all you can do here is just try to pick out the patterns that he's using. So here on the G, he happens to start with a 2 and then a 0. And then he comes back with the 2nd fret a couple times. And then plays 1, 2, 4. And back to 1. So he probably doesn't know he did it. So what you really want to look at here is the notes that are being played in the left hand, and then just go crazy on them across against the open string. So kind of something like that, and then you take it over to the 2, 3, 5 on the D string and do the same process. You kind of start, the 3rd fret's heard first, that 2nd finger's heard first. So just like here on the G string, you do it here. So you play that 3rd fret, then let it go to the open, and then go all the way up through the fingers, back down. And then do the same thing on the A string. So that pattern really started on the G string. So you go. So that's a good way to kind of approximate. Like I said, this is not something you're going to get note for note ever. It's just not possible. And then you go 3, 1, 0 on the low E into an F major bar chord. That's the first thing that's not muted. So, and here you start the pattern. A little faster. And that's how you're going to get it sounding close to it. And then we go into that nice little clean intro named To Sleep, Perchance to Dream, and that is coming next. All right, so we have this section here, which is actually called "To Sleep, Perchance to Dream," and it is a repeated kind of arpeggiated chord form here. Pretty easy, pretty consistent picking pattern, and just one chord form. The chord form is just held like a G chord down here, but just moved up to the 7th fret. So it's the 8th fret on the low E, 7th on the A, the open D and the open G. So you got, and then the 8th fret on the B and the high E. Couple of different picking patterns you might want to consider here. The one that he plays on the actual recording, the recorded version of it, and then they have their official video where he played a little bit different pattern there. So whatever you like the sound of better, I'll cover both. So the one on the original recording is going to start by picking across the bass string. So from the 6th string, from the E, A, D. So pick those 3 first. Just you're going to hold this chord the whole time. And then you're going to pick the high E string and the B string. So I just do 3 downstrokes, 2 up, and then you're going to pick the D string and the open D and the open G. Let's use it down up. So we have this. Repeat. All right, just had that dreamy quality about it. Now, what is he doing during the, if you see the original video that they did for it, it's not the same exact recording at all times there that they're playing to. And that's very similar though. It stays the same at the beginning, except here, after he hits the high E, he'll go and hit the open G, and then he'll hit the B string, and then the rest is the same. So he just kind of continued that pattern. So it's basically just the open G string thrown in there between those 2 8s, and then you're good to go. All right, I think I prefer the original recorded version though. All right, so now we get to the riff that I played at the beginning, which is back on the distortion here. So this is called Strangiato's theme. So now that right there, I'll remind you, sounds like this. So that is going to play through twice. That comes in at the 2-minute mark after you've done that little clean arpeggio for a long time. So now actually before they actually go into this main riff, there's some power chords there that you're leaving the clean section and going into the chord. So it's just like... So it's just a C, C power chord or C major chord. If you want full C major chord down here, the 3rd fret there. So you did 1, 2, 3. Do that 4 times, and then it launches into this main riff of the song, which is Strangiato's theme. So that's an A power chord. It starts that 3 times, the same rhythm. And then we have this series of pull-offs. So you're going to basically pull off this from the 2nd fret to the open string on the B string, G string, and the D. So he plays it like this. He actually plays the bar with the index, and then does the pull-offs with his middle finger. So after you've done that a few times, forward to be exact, you hit the power chord and let it ring. And then you're going to go up here to the D major chord off the 5th fret. So that D major bar chord, so it's just the same chord we did the 3rd fret before, but 5th fret there on the A, bar across the 7th fret of the D, G, and B. Then move it up to the 7th fret, back to the 5th fret. So D, E, G. All right, so all together. Then you go back and do that pull-off riff twice, and then go back to the chorus. And back to the pull-off. So then you do that pull-off riff 2 more times, so it's just going back and forth between those 2 things. And then we have this part. All right, so that's gonna, I'll take you through it slow. We're gonna go 10-8. And then 12-10 over to 9 on the D, 12 on the A. So we have this. Then you're going to go 10-9 on the D. And then you go 12-10-9 over to 12 on the A. Down to 9 on the A string. So we have this. All right, then you go the 11th fret on the D, 11th on the G, back to 11 on the D. So we have this. Then you go 9 on the A again, over to 9 on the low E. Back to that 9 on the A, and then back to the 11s on the D and on the G. So we have this. Then you repeat that little melody. But now the second time that you get to that 9 on the A string, it has a different ending. So that goes, you play that 9 on the A, then move over to the 9 on the low E, down to 2, back up to 9, over to the 9 on the A again, and back to the 9 on the low E. And from there you go back to the pull-off section of the riff. And then it just kind of repeats what we've already done. So same kind of thing. So coming out of that, we go back to that little melody piece, and it goes back to the, it acts like it's going to start over a 3rd time. All right, now, but there it quickly jumps to this kind of 7/8 section based around 2 chords. Now this section, this is when it enters, this is at the 3-minute 15-second mark. And here we go. It's called a Lurks in Wonderland. I know, people love telling me how I mispronounce things in comments, so have at it. I don't care. So, but it's just 2 chords here. Starting at the 3-minute 15-second mark, and this is what also starts the guitar solo section. Should be some chorus on the tone here. I don't have it. So, just an F major bar chord, standard F major bar. Basically, to make it easy, just count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then move up. So you did that twice, and then move it up to the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that second time on the A, that's when you just kind of bring it down and go into the guitar solo. Guitar solos, I'm going to have in a separate video tomorrow.
I'm usually not trying to break up the lessons, trying to do the whole song, but this is a 12-section tune. So my own personal sanity, I'm going to leave the solos for a separate video, which will be released tomorrow. So you have plenty of work to do with this one before that's released, so don't worry. All right, so let's talk about, really it's the end. There's a riff that comes in towards the end of the solo section, which is, we're still in the same odd time signature. So the riff is kind of awkward, but if you look at it the right way, it's pretty easy to play. Now this riff happens, let me see if I can find the 5 minute and 14 second mark. So it's coming out of the first guitar solo. So it sounds like this. So before it goes to the next section of the song there. All right, so this is the riff sounds like it's difficult to kind of memorize and all that stuff, but it's actually very, very easy. So you're just going to be picking straight eighth notes here. And don't worry about if you can't count the 7 or whatever. Just the notes themselves kind of put you in the right time. So let me explain. The beginning of it, heavily palm muted, right? So we're just going to play the 8th fret on the low E. Little 3-note pattern here, what we want to do. 8th note on the low E, and then 7th fret on the A to the 10th fret on the A. So we have this. So basically, that's the 3-note pattern. You're going to repeat that twice. So after every 2 times of repeating that pattern, you're going to add you're going to play one note that you're going to add to the sequence, which is just the 10th fret there on the low E. So basically the pattern twice, and then that 10. It's just still in the same, just kind of keep everything nice and steady. And that's it. Just keep repeating that. So basically, you do that sequence of playing the pattern twice, and then that added note to the 10th fret on the low E. You do that all together 4 times. All right, and then we're going to do the same concept down here. So once again, this is a 3-note pattern repeated twice with then 1 note added, thrown in between each repeat of the sections. So it's basically just 5, 8 on the low E, still palm muted, over to 7 on the A. So those are the 3 notes. So repeat that twice. And then what you're going to do as the added note is it's going to be the 5th fret on the A string. You can just do that by rolling over your index and grabbing that note on the A string, the 5th fret, and then you repeat everything again. So just like before, that 3-note pattern repeated twice with that extra note, you're going to do all that 4 times and then move back up to where we did before. So you're just going to rotate between those that we learned. So it looks like this. Repeat. So you do this whole thing 3 times. The only thing that changes, though, is this 3rd time. When you get to the section down here, you quit palm muting. All right, so that's it. That's how you really can feel that pattern well and the timing of it well, because it can be kind of confusing and it sounds confusing, but it's actually very basic to play if you just look at it the right way. So hopefully you guys will get that down now too. So let's skip to the monsters part, which is starts at the 5 minute and 49 second mark. Sounds like this. All right, so that's got some fun stuff to it. So now let's take a look at this. We're at the 5th fret on the low E string. We have so at 5th fret on the low E, then play 7/6 on the A string, and then pull off 5 to 3 on that A, over to 5 on the low E string, back to that 3 on the A string. So this. So you basically repeat that riff 4 times, and then we have this variation. So we have this, it's the same thing pretty much, except instead of holding that 3 at the end, you go down to 2. So with repeat that 3 times. And the 4th time we have this one, which is a little trill between 6 and 7 on the A string. So he just does that, slides down to 3, and then over it hits the 5th fret on the low E. And then back to the 3 on the A, kind of a slight bend, and then back to that 5th fret on the low E. So we have this. So 3 times for that riff. All right, then we basically take it up an octave with just a slight variation in it. So instead of here, off A of the low E, it's the A of the D string. So we have this, we start the same, so it's 7 on the D, and then 9/8 on the G. Then you do that pull off 7 to 5 on the G. Over to 7 on the D, back to that 5 on the G. And then you're gonna really kind of bend up. He bends with his middle finger, but so bending up the 7th fret a whole step with a lot of kind of really erratic vibrato on it. And then you repeat. But instead of doing that bend at the end, you go from that 5 down to 4. So we have this. Then you repeat the riff again with that bend at the end instead. So we have this all together. And then we had the same ending that we did there, but just up an octave. So that's at the 8th. And kind of slides off that note. So we have that trills between 8 and 9 now on the G string. Slide down to 5. Back over to 7 on the D. Back to that 5. And back to that 7. Slide it down. All right, so that's kind of the end of the monster section. We have this quick little bass solo that pops in there, and then we have these chromatic major triads that come in at the 6 minute 12 second mark. Now this section here is called the Ghost of the Aragon, right? Something like that. Anyway, when the guitar comes in, sounds like this. and that goes into the second guitar solo. This is the crazy stuff here. All right, so we're going to start coming out of that bass solo. Remember, these chords come in at the 6-minute, 12-second mark. We're already all the way through there. So we are at the just an A major chord. If people like to play it like that, that's fine too. That's the 12th fret there on the A, and then the 14th fret bar across the D, G, and the B. So you're going to basically take that chord and move it down one fret at a time, all the way down to the open A power chord. After you hit that open A power chord, you mute it and then go to the G major bar chord there at the 3rd fret there, full bar at the 3rd, 5th fret on the A and the D, and the 4th fret on the G. All right, and then from there, this is when the timing of everything kind of gets a little bit tricky. So you have to know the song well and just be able to follow along with it. So what's going on after that G? They go to this C major chord with a G in the bass. So it's basically still a full bar across all 6 strings at the 3rd fret. And you're going to be playing the 5th fret on the D, G, and the B. But remember, you still have that 3rd fret on the low E string in there. Alex Lifeson plays this chord a ton. So you play that a couple times. And then we go back into that little chromatic major triad stuff, except it is a little bit abbreviated. So that right there, I went to 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, and then skipped 6 and hit 5 and stopped. So we went. So make sure you skip that 6 there, or the timing is going to get it all thrown off. And then we have this, which is just a quick little kind of sliding the power chord from the 3rd fret of the low E string up to the 5th fret and then back down to the 3. So we have from that chromatic run. And Newport finishes the fill, and then we have this. All right, so that's pretty easy to play. So that's straightforward. It's just 3, 5 on the low E string, then 3, 5 on the A. He's adding some vibrato here too. Then 7 on the A, 5, 7 on the B, over to 5 on the G, and then just play that D power chord to end it. All right, so coming out of that riff, we have just that C chord with the G in the bass again, over to an A major bar chord. So that C out of that riff, and then take that chord form, move it down 2 frets to the G, and you're gonna have 2 groups of 2 hits each. So quick little down up, that's all you gotta do on that G. So let me just show you some out of the riff. It sounds like this. And then we get to the end of this right before the guitar solo. What you're gonna do is jump back over to that C with the G in the bass. And hit it kind of like, it's kind of like, just let them ring out a little bit longer. And then jump it up to the 7th fret there. And it's a quicker group of 3. So we have this down, down, up. So it's the same thing, you still get that 7 on the low E there, so it's the E major chord with the B in the bass. And then end it just with that A major chord, and then he goes into that crazy second solo. All right, so now underneath, if you have a second guitar player you're playing with, there are chords underneath the second solo. It's pretty easy, it's just that C chord with the G in the bass. An F sharp major bar chord. By the way, this section is called Danforth and is it Pape? I'm screwing this all up. It's at the 6-minute and 45-second mark. All right, so just C with the G in the bass and F sharp, and you're good for the second solo. All right, All right, now we have the Waltz of the Shreves. And this is at the 7-minute and 26-second mark. Man, this is a feat of memory, let me tell you. All right, so let me play through this for you. All right, so this kind of flies around a bit. It starts out with just these kind of this A major, A power chord that this first one's built off of. Just 7 on the D, 7 on the A, 5 on the low E. So you can play each note and just mute it pretty quickly. And then do the same thing 2 frets lower. Then jump up here to the 6th fret on the G, same kind of pattern. Then the 7 on the D and 7 on the A. Let's try this. Let's try this. And then we get into the quicker section. All right, so what's going on there? It's kind of, you play 7 on the D, 7 on the A, then the open A string. And then do the same thing, but now you're going to be at the 5th fret on the D, 5th fret on the A, and then open A again. That's where this is. And then you're going to play the 6 on the G, 7 on the D, and then the open A. So wait, this. All right, and then you're gonna grab this D major chord. It can just be a D power chord if you want. Just off the 5th fret of the A string to an E major chord to a B major chord. So it's that bar chord we've been playing a lot at the 2nd fret of the A. So we have this. Repeat everything again, except the very last chord is not going to be this B chord. It's going to be that G major bar chord. So we have this. Repeat all that twice. And at the second ending, when you go to that G, 2, 3, 4, you hit it 4 times. And then that takes us at the 7-minute and 48-second mark. We have a 12/8 section that is titled "Never Turn Your Back on a Monster," which sounds like this. So that is pretty cool. So we are at the just that bar chord, A major bar chord at the 5th fret there. And then from there, so we had this. That's kind of similar to what we did before. 5 on the low E, then 7/6 on the A. Back over to the low E string, over to the 5th fret on the A string, down to 3. So and then play that 5th fret on the low E string, back to that 3rd fret on the A, and then start over. Just play it 3 times. Play it all creepy like and stuff. And then we have that same ending that we've done before. So coming out of that riff, we have the kind of the Monsters theme reprise, which is just like we played before. So that comes right out of that. Go right into it. Octave. All right, so now that is the Monsters reprise, is what that section is titled. And then we get at the 8-minute and 17-second mark, we have the this Strangiato's theme reprise, which starts off of a C major first. So that's just it's kind of the same lick, but you're just holding the C major bar chord. Hit that 3 times, and then you're going to pull off 5-3 on the beat, 5-3 on the G, and then pull off 5-0 on the D. So we have this. Repeat. So, and then it's back to the normal riff. You guys know what's going on. So it does that whole thing twice again, except at the 9-minute and 16-second mark. When we are leaving that last time of playing that little theme, we have a little variation. It goes like this. All right, so we have a little kind of a, we actually didn't go to that 8 power chord, but we do have this. So it goes back into that riff there. So we have what's going on there. So after this, out of this, remember this is at the 9-minute and 16-second mark. You stop that descending line there at the 9th fret on the D string, jump down here and play the F sharp power chord. And then you're going to do this little pull off lick, kind of like we did off the C. You're going to play pull off 4-2 on the G string, 4-2 on the D, and 4-0 on the A. So this. Repeat. All right, and then that takes us to the last section, yay, the 9-minute and 20-second mark. We have a section called A Farewell to Things, and it sounds like this. All right, so that part is just kind of similar to the riff we played before. Just done 4 times. And then that same chromatic A major, starts with an A major chord and just move it all the way down 1 fret, all the way down to the open A. To that A chord, and then there's a little pause, and we just jump up and grab that C real quick with the G in the bass, and you are done. All right, so stay tuned. We're going to take a look at Alex Lifeson's 2 solos tomorrow. I'll see you then.